1001 Arapahoe Avenue, right here in Boulder.
KGNU FM 88.5 Boulder, KGNU 1390 Denver. Stay tuned for Metro.
Real stories, real people, real purpose.
Welcome, and thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Ruby Jones, and for the next 30 minutes, we'll highlight the voices, issues, and stories shaping Colorado's Front Range. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the exchange. Front Range Exchange is an extension of multimedia content published by Empower Media Exchange. We have a podcast, a digital publication, and we strengthen the local news ecosystem with support for children, students, and professionals. We believe in community connections, education, and inspiration, and we're building a better tomorrow, one story at a time. February is a month of reflection and momentum. It's Black History Month, it's American Heart Month, it's Mardi Gras, and just around the corner in March, we'll celebrate Women's History Month. This season asks us to look backward to honor legacy and forward to build what comes next. Black History Month recognizes the cultural, political, and economic contributions of Black leaders, innovators, artists, and everyday changemakers whose impact continues to shape Colorado and the whole of the nation. It's a reminder that history is happening now, and we're creating it every day. There have been a lot of Black History Month events that support cultural pride and inclusivity happening throughout Colorado's Front Range. At Empower Media Exchange, we believe that the best way to celebrate this month is to learn about historical figures and living history makers to expand, strengthen, and share knowledge. At the same time, American Heart Month encourages everyone to prioritize wellness. Cardiovascular disease is one of the leading causes of death nationwide, and the month-long awareness campaign encourages prevention, education, and access to care. This is especially important in communities that face disproportionate health outcomes. But health and wellness affect everyone. Each and every one of us deserves to indulge in self-care, rest, and wellness practices that support good health and a life free from preventable ailments. Throughout the month, there have been events to raise awareness for heart disease, including Wear Red Day and Intermountain Health's Heart Fairs on February 6th in Denver and Wheat Ridge. South Denver Cardiology hosted a Heart Failure Awareness Week and Cardiac Rehabilitation Week from February 11th to 17th. And on February 27th, the Denver Heart Ball will be held at Empower Field at Mile High to support the American Heart Association. The American Heart Association's Move More Challenge is a year-round program that encourages 150 minutes or more of physical movement each week to protect heart health. And you can learn more at heart.org. As we prepare for Women's History Month next month, organizations across Colorado are planning panels, exhibits, and community conversations that spotlight women in leadership, science, arts, and civic life. The Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce will host its annual State of Women in Business event, which was formerly a breakfast and now will be held as a luncheon on March 5th. This event will be moderated by Kelly Clifton Ogunsanya and will feature a panel discussion with business leaders to examine what's driving women out of the workforce in record numbers, while sharing proven strategies and solutions. If you're interested in attending to hear from Marissa Daspit, the Chief People Officer at Ibotta, Maria G. Melendez, Chief of Staff at Denver International Airport, and Angie Voigt, Chief Nursing Executive at HCA Healthcare, You can find additional information at cwcc.org. February is all about history, health, and leadership. And we're reminded that community advancement requires all three. Colorado's art scene continues to deliver extraordinary storytelling. On February 14th and 15th, the Colorado New Play Summit took place at Helen Bonfils Theater at the Denver Performing Arts Complex. The 20th annual event featured new play readings, a playwrights slam, a high school playwriting competition, and special viewings of Cowboys and East Indians and Godspeed. Each year, the summit attracts theater industry leaders from over 20 states, and this year was no different. It's no secret that we love performing arts and theater at Empower Media Exchange. If you tune into my podcast, The Exchange, on YouTube or across streaming services, you'll find plenty of thought-provoking interviews with actors and actresses who bring unique characters to life on stages around the world. Our digital news website, Front Range Focus, also features theatrical reviews from some amazing productions. This month, Denver Center for the Performing Arts is hosting 2 incredible Broadway touring productions, and I had an opportunity to speak with members of the cast who are bringing a wealth of talent to the Buell Theater. First, Water for Elephants, which arrived in Denver on February 11th and will run through February 22nd. Based on the best-selling novel, the production blends immersive staging, acrobatics, and theatrical movement to bring a traveling circus to life. I had the chance to speak with Helen Krasinski about her starring role as Marlena, along with the emotional depth of the story and the physicality required to transform the stage into something purely magical. Here's a clip from our conversation.
Water for Elephants, the musical is based off of Sarah Gruen's novel, Water for Elephants. It's about a man who loses everything, and then he ends up finding himself on a train, and he begs them to let them take him in. And he doesn't know it at the time, but it's actually attached to a traveling circus, which is it's ideal for him because he's a vet. So he ends up connecting with the circus via the animals, and then he ends up meeting my character, Marlena, and they connect with their love and empathy for the animals as well. And yeah.
Tell me about your character, Marlena.
Yeah, so Marlena is married to August, the ringmaster of the circus, and she's circus equestrian, performer, trapeze artist. She's kind of the peacekeeper within the company as well. She's super strong. She's a big heart, and she loves the animals. She's connected to the animal Silver Star, the horse, and she ends up falling in love with Rosie, the elephant, as well. Something that I want audiences to recognize is it's not as easy to leave the situation that she's in as much as people may think. August is not the kindest person, as you'll see when you see the show.
So when we see the trailer and we think about a circus, we don't really think about some of those deeper themes. And that sounds like it is one. From your perspective, what are some of the other themes that the play involves or touches on?
Yeah, I think one of the themes that really sticks out to me is I feel like most people can relate in some way to leaving something behind or, starting a new job, not knowing what that's going to look like, and recognizing that even though you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and you may feel like there is no one there for you, but there will always be someone there to catch you. And I hope that's what audiences leave feeling, that sense of hope and sense of safety net. There's always going to be a community to catch you in the end.
At the end of the month, The Music Man takes the stage from February 27th through March 1st. I sat down with Paul Urriola, who plays Marcellus Washburn in the national tour. We talked about the legacy of this classic American musical, his journey to the Broadway touring stage, and what audiences can expect from the energetic production. Here's a moment from that interview. For audience members who may not be that familiar with the storyline, would you tell us what The Music Man is about and who your character is within that story?
All right. So the Music Man, on paper, it's like a weird sell. It is about this man, Harold Hill, Professor Harold Hill, who is a con man masquerading as a traveling salesman. He goes from town to town, promising like the local citizens that he's going to sell uh boys bands like as a concept. Like he's going to sell instruments, he's going to sell uniforms, instruction books, he's going to teach all these kids how to play, and then like he's going to lead the band and they're going to march through town, and it's just going to be this brilliant beautiful display of like old traditional like Americana joy. The catch to it is though that he doesn't know one note from another. He can't tell a bassoon from a bass drum. He gets through purely on his charm and whimsy alone. And he finds himself in this very stubborn, like stuck up Iowa town, River City. And he ends up like he comes in with these ill intentions. And by the end of this 2 hour, 15-minute show, he's fully integrated himself into the community as like such an integral player. And despite being a man who knows like nothing about music, he like sets up a barbershop quartet, sets up a dance company. He like fully like shapes up like the troublemaking kids and like the boys gang into like respectable young men. All that to say, it's a show about how community can be formed around the arts. And in all of that, I play Marcellus Washburn, who is an ex-con man who used to be traveling partners with Harold Hill. Like back in the day, like the two of us would like completely like ransack towns, bleed them for all they're worth, go on to the next. And my character eventually decides this is too much, like one too many close calls, and decides to settle down in River City, Iowa. And he's just has a normal life. He's works at the library, like he's a stable boy. He finds himself in the script, it's quoted as a nice, comfortable girl, the boss's niece. And he's just happy to like make his wage, go to bed, like not be chased with tar and feathers by like angry townspeople. And one day, like I'm running late getting back to the stable, and I turn around and there's Harold Hill, my ex-partner, and he immediately starts chaos in the town. And it starts off like, oh, don't you dare, like no no no, like I got a good gig. But also like Marcellus is he's so eager and so happy to please. He's a little bumbly meatball is the way I like to think of him. But upon seeing Harold, he's like, okay, we could one more ride. Like what the heck? But that's who I play in all this. It's a lot of fun. And he sings Shapoopy at the end of the show, which is just such a fun, silly musical theater number
Yeah.
that most people know through Family Guy in the episode where Peter Griffin joins the New England Patriots.
I forgot that song was in there. You're absolutely
Oh, yes, it
right.
is.
You did an amazing job of describing the Music Man. You said it was a hard sell, but I think you explained that extremely well and gave me all the warm fuzzies from all the many years that I watched it. I mean, it was my go-to when I was sick and I was just home from school. And I typically have the numbers from the production in my head at least once a week.
Well, and I say it's a hard sell. I'm the same way. Like it was the first musical I ever saw as a kid. That made me fall in love with doing this now as an adult for a living. But I know so many people, all they focus on is like, oh, here's this man coming to town and like he lies to everyone. And then, spoiler alert for the over 70-year-old musical, he gets away with it. But to me, it's not about that. It's about how he introduces the arts to this community in such a weird roundabout way and like brings everybody together.
I love that within your description of it, you're also bringing in that theme of community. That is such an integral component of this storyline.
They're working together for like a common goal. And I feel like now more than ever, like in this country, it's so important to set aside our differences when we can and to just be like, hey, like we're humans at the end of the day, and we have to look out for each other as people. And again, it's I always like I chuckle to myself so much when I think about the Music Man, like the silly show from the 1950s, 1960s, being like the symbol for that. But to me, like that's truly what the show is about.
You can watch both full interviews with Helen Krasinski and Paul Uriola on the Exchange podcast at youtube.com/@jointheexchange or wherever you stream your podcasts. If you'd like to catch the shows before they leave the Mile High City, visit denvercenter.org for tickets. Turning now to a few developments across Metro Denver. In recent weeks, protests have taken place outside offices connected to Palantir Technologies, a data analytics company co-founded in 2003 and recently headquartered in Cherry Creek. Palantir builds software platforms used by government agencies and private sector organizations to analyze large data sets. The company has contracts with U.S. defense and immigration agencies, which has drawn criticism from activists who argue that its technology may contribute to surveillance practices, deportation systems, or military applications. Protesters say their concerns center on transparency, privacy, and the ethical use of artificial intelligence and predictive analytics tools. Supporters of the company argue that Palantir provides essential national security and public safety infrastructure. The demonstrations reflect broader national debates about technology, governance, and corporate accountability, conversations that continue to evolve as AI and data analytics reshape modern life. To learn more about Palantir and one of the groups leading protests against the company, you can find my article titled Palantir Explained, the Data Giant at the Center of Protest and Power on Front Range Focus at coloradofocus.com. As the city of Denver continues to transform public spaces for community use, the Downtown Denver Partnership is advancing a project that will transform the city's public right-of-way. The 5280 Trail is an urban trail project designed to create a walkable loop connecting neighborhoods, cultural institutions, and green space throughout the city center. The project will create a 5.280-mile linear park with gathering spaces, boulevards, and more. Recent updates signal incremental progress toward improving connectivity, pedestrian safety, and public gathering spaces. Urban planners and civic leaders have framed the project as both a placemaking initiative and an economic development strategy that reimagines downtown Denver for residents, workers, and visitors. In the city of Aurora, city officials are moving forward with recruiting and appointing an inaugural Downtown Development Authority, which will shape and implement a Colorado Community Vision and Action Plan. This group will focus on safety improvements, infrastructure upgrades, small business support, housing initiatives, and broader economic development along East Colfax between Yosemite Street and Peoria, near the Fitzsimmons Urban Renewal Area. The area, which was once Aurora's central business district, has experienced several periods of sharp decline since the 1970s, and as a result, many of the vacant or underused buildings have become blighted. Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman envisions the Downtown Development Authority as a way to generate redevelopment and increase support for Aurora's art district, while improving walkability and helping with growth. The application period to fill seats on the board is open until February 28th for people 18 years and older who live, work, or own a business or property in the area. If you'd like to learn more, visit auroragov.org. This month, I spoke with Colorado State Representative Manny Rutinel, who currently represents the state's 32nd House District. Manny is running to represent Colorado's 8th Congressional District. We discussed his background, policy priorities, and what he believes differentiates his campaign in a competitive political environment.
I grew up with a single mom who immigrated to America in search of that American dream, and she bopped around all different parts of the country and the Dominican Republic looking for a job to be able to provide for us. And, that sort of struggle meant that I wasn't able to stay at a elementary school or a middle school for longer than a year and a half, because we didn't know where my mom was going to have to hop over next. Eventually, when I was in law school, I made my way to Colorado and fell in love. And from the moment I stepped foot here, I decided I was going to live the rest of my life here as soon as I graduated from law school. And now here I am as a state representative of this great state, hoping to fight for working people and bring back, the resources that they desperately need.
When it comes to deciding to run for public office, what was the moment that sparked your decision to run? And what was the moment that made you decide, I'm going to run for Congress?
Yeah, well, both of those moments were very similar. It involved members of the community basically calling me up, letting me know, hey, we need you right now. When I first ran for the state house, it was members of the community saying, this state rep seat is going to be term limited, and we need you to get ready whenever that time comes to be able to step into this role and bring any skills that you have to the Colorado State House. And, the people that I represent now in Adams County are just absolutely wonderful. They are a diverse community of hardworking folks that are trying to make ends meet. And that represents the sort of background I come from, single mom, working class background, knowing what it takes to live paycheck to paycheck. I worked at McDonald's for many years. I saw that minimum wage come in, a minimum wage that, by the way, hasn't changed since I was there 15 years ago. And I know that folks in this district needed someone who represented them. The district now and the congressional district that I'll be running for is the most Latino district in the entire state. It's 40% Latino. It's folks that, have many struggles, have many hopes and dreams that me and my family and my mom lived as well. And so it's about bringing that representation, bringing that lived experience to this congressional seat. And it came from a place of the community asking me to step up in what is a really terrifying time for our community and for this country.
You're right. There are certainly some very complex issues happening right now, and the political climate is turbulent at best. So when it comes to your own political philosophy, your personal values, what are some of the things that make you feel prepared to take on this role?
Yeah. So in my first year as a state legislator, I was able to get over 13 of my bills passed into law. And that's because not only do I work really hard, but I know how to work with others. I know how to build the coalitions that it's going to take to get a bill from idea into a signature on the governor's desk. And one of the bills that I think represents a lot of my political philosophy that I'll mention is, in my first legislative session, I expanded the earned income tax credit in Colorado to make it the most generous in the entire country. And that bill, alongside the family affordability tax credit that I co-sponsored here, because of those two bills, we were able to slash childhood poverty by 41% overnight with the signing of the bill. And that, to me, is a very clear indicator that poverty is a policy choice. That if we just decided to eradicate poverty, we could. If we decided to make life affordable, we could. If we decided to give the rights and freedoms that Coloradans deserve, we could do those things. We just need the political will. And so my philosophy comes down to hard work, pragmatism, working with others, and, working to negotiate without compromising our values. That's where I stand.
With November elections on the horizon, races across Colorado are already drawing attention. Voter engagement is expected to remain high in what could be a consequential election year for federal representation. Empower Media Exchange is committed to supporting civic engagement through media and information sharing. You can watch my full interview with Representative Rutinel on The Exchange. Finally, a look at sports in Denver and beyond. The Olympic Winter Games are still in full swing until February 22nd as talented athletes from around the world compete for the highest titles. The United States has won gold in speed skating, freestyle skiing, alpine skiing, and figure skating, with Norway leading the gold medal count at the midway point. Lindsey Vonn, who grew up in Vail after her family moved from Minnesota to Colorado in the 1990s, suffered an upsetting crash during the games after competing on a ruptured ACL. She was airlifted off the course and is now facing several rounds of surgery after sustaining a complex tibia fracture. We wish the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame inductee the best and hope for a speedy recovery. As the Olympic Winter Games wind down, Denver's newest professional soccer club is preparing for its debut. Denver Summit Football Club will play its inaugural home game on March 28th against the Washington Spirit. The match will be held at Empower Field, and it's expected to break the NWSL single-game attendance record, with over 40,000 tickets already sold. The arrival of the NWSL team in Colorado is a significant milestone for women's professional soccer in the state. It reflects growing national investment in women's sports and an expanding audience demand. During Super Bowl 60, Forbes staff writer Justin Birnbaum spoke with Denver Summit FC president Jen Millett to discuss the launch of the club and massive infrastructure projects fueling its growth. Here's a clip from their conversation.
One of the most exciting things that's happening in Denver and across women's sports is just the momentum for women's sports. So even the robust fandom that we've seen in Denver for this club before we had a name, before we had a logo, was tremendous. And so I knew in joining that we had this groundswell of support. We also have 3 massive infrastructure projects happening simultaneously. So Performance Center, a temporary stadium, and a permanent stadium in Denver. All are projects that are under works where we're meeting 3 to 4 hours a day just specifically on those things. I think there's a couple things with Denver in particular. So one is Denver is home to some of the most rabid fans of sports in the country and maybe in the world. We knew that bringing a women's team there for the first time was going to be meaningful and impactful. The second is that Denver and Colorado produce some of the best U.S. women's national team players in the country. So it's a hotbed for the sport itself, and we knew that just fans were going to embrace that. We knew there was a massive youth culture that was invested in soccer. You know, we play in the summer. When we talk about bringing women's sports there was meaningful, but bringing a sport to Colorado where people are going to be able to enjoy it outdoors in the summer was important too. So Denver just showed up in a really aggressive but also just like impactful way for the league.
For fans of the beautiful game, this is a historic moment, and for young athletes across the Front Range, it represents limitless possibility. As we close this episode of Front Range Exchange, we're thankful for our audience and supporters who make it possible for us to strengthen the local news ecosystem through trusted, accurate, and inclusive information. We're excited to share that Empower Media Exchange is participating in the Co-Generate Community of Practice, working with high school interns, and launching registration for our next-gen media literacy and storytelling lab, which will be held for the very first time this summer. We are committed to strengthening youth leadership through intergenerational co-creation, and we invite you to learn more at empowermediaexchange.org. February reminds us that community is not static. It's built, protected, and reimagined to meet the needs of the people, especially as they change. This month is special. Black History Month reminds us that courage and resilience builds legacy. American Heart Month reminds us that wellness sustains that legacy. Women's History Month reminds us that leadership and equity shapes the future. And Mardi Gras reminded us to laisser le bon temps rouler, or let the good times roll. Whether through art on a stage, voices in a protest, campaigns on the ballot, or the first whistle at a new soccer club's debut, Colorado's story continues to unfold, and we'll be here to tell it. This has been Front Range Exchange on KGNU Community Radio's Metro. I'm Ruby Jones, and I thank you for listening, supporting local storytelling, and being part of this community. Until next time, take care of yourself and take care of each other.